Welcome to Watch My Smoke. I want to get right to it. Um, I'm a Gen X, 1966. I live with bipolar 2 disorder, and I help teach people, you know, how to not overthink and to be free and to stay free in the mind. So I want to talk about at this point in time, it's about, I guess, the boundaries with your grown children. Grown children. I don't know what happened. Welcome back. I'm so sorry. It's just my internet, whatever. But I apologize. Would I speak that everybody will be blessed and what's not of you? Send it out right now in the name of Jesus. I know living with bipolar 2 disorder, I deal with mood swings and everything. And today is like, whatever had popped up on my mind, I'm laying there meditating and everything, sitting up here, just chilling, as they say. But I look at there's a point of time with our grown children, it's always about with both of us boundaries and respect, okay? That some point of time you feel led, you could talk to them about some things and vice versa. But yet I was thinking about with me and my mom, it's a lot of stuff I didn't know about her that I learned through the CNA that we're still friends. A nurse's aide, rather, after my mom passed after 3 years and 3 years ago, 86, and she passed of dementia. I found out some things, and sometimes you're gonna find out some things through other people about your parents, about your children. And the only thing you could do is like, well, of your children to a certain extent, because when they grown, people change. And then sometimes some children think they know their parents. Mm. And if you don't have children, this is not for everybody, okay? But the ones that realize when they did get grown, even just start having children, I don't care what age you are, you know, you you know what I'm saying. So at some point, you just got to just know what's safe to talk to them about. Okay, because I'm gonna tell you, and that's like with anybody. Because if my mom would have pissed me off, then I'll go tell somebody something. You know what I'm saying? It could be a family member or whatever, and I would just be upset and just talk about whatever I knew, you know, or whatever me and her talked about. Was that right? Hell no, that wasn't right. Because sometimes some things you tell people or your family or your children things in confidence. Yeah. And you got to be careful because you never know. Like you say, one day you will have children. As you can see, I have no lights on. I get so tired of, I'm grateful, but I'm just not. I got to find out how to do the podcast part of this. I'm just not in I just let the light shine, whatever, through the window. So it's kind of shady. I really was just going to chill today and didn't feel like doing nothing, you know, but you can't help but to think, you know, you just think about things. Your mind be racing. And a lot of us, when we get older, it be that. And then the mood swing I'm in, you know. This is a journey for people to just see. It's documentary. You have a journey. And you may know somebody who live with bipolar too and can relate. Yeah, all what I'm going through. Everybody life, everybody, it just some about it. It's interesting. You can learn. You learn. You learn. But anyway, you just have to be careful, mothers, um, excuse me, sisters, brothers, what you say to each other about some real personal stuff that you could be going through. You could be going through physically. Women have female problems, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But when until that day they get mad with each other, oh my God. What they got to do is you. When you come and see, a lot of times we have to be careful. And this was said to me all while I was growing up as an older child. Think before you speak. You know, think before you speak, because a lot of times we don't hold our own accountability of things and not thinking, and then that's when we bring stuff on ourselves. Your mouth, you talk too much. Now I'm not perfect. I'm led to say whatever I say on this daggone internet. It is what it is because people will take stuff and use it against you and all of this stuff. But honey, I have God on my side, and I'm gonna say what the heck I'm led to say. Eventually, when somebody's dead and gone, they still be on the internet and they can find this and listen to this later. But it's the brand what you building. It's whatever you building. This is what it is. This is what the world is today. But the thing is, welcome aboard. I see you. The thing is, you got to have a boundary. You got to be you got to be careful with each other. I was laughing the other day with my daughter. Thank God my 30-year-old stays in touch with me. All of them I talk to them, but everybody got different life. Baby girl and baby girl. She all over the place. 25. Then I got my 30-year-old. She's in the middle, so she's in between whatever the life is, of her career. And then my 38-year-old son think he's old, about as old as me. He have his own three children, which is my grands. But once again, I say you have to be careful. And I want to say this part because it's so funny about my 30-year-old daughter. I felt so comfortable of talking to her the other day. I told her, thank you for allowing me to be myself. But I just had to talk to her about some stuff like when I grew up. I was in a my grandparents was, Baptist Reverend or whatever, Mason and Eastern Star. But it was so I mean, they were so low key, okay? So it wasn't really nothing big, whatever. And I grew up in the house, and stuff on the west side of Atlanta. And they were strict. So I'm saying all this that, they were strict. I had a strict family, okay? Strict. They're funny about the girls, and then I was the only child. My father died when I was 5. Well, the thing is, I was telling my daughter about some stuff that happened to me, like, I guess 17, 18, 19, 18. Okay. And I'm like, I've told her I thought I was grown. So, but whatever I was doing, I mean, I never was in drugs and stuff like that or whatever, drinking the drugs, whatever. But whatever I would do, I would call and let my mom know, say, hey, I'm okay. I'm at a friend's house because I didn't want her to worry. And she said, okay. That's all we did. We didn't strike no conversation or anything. But it just so happened that one of my old so called friends would call her and talk to her and tell her what was going on in my life because I suppose had been living with them. So I'm thinking I'm slick. So I'm telling my 30-year-old all of this. And she said, I told my 30-year-old, I said, oh, and my mom, she done went to her grave, but she knew some stuff. She just wouldn't talk about what it was. She just knew how I was. And so my 30-year-old said, oh, mom. She said, your stirs are getting wilder and wilder. And I couldn't help but to laugh. It was so funny. I said, girl, you're so funny. What I'm saying is because my mother told me that she was the baby of 8 and that her mother would talk to her all the time because the older children, older girls, they done married and lived in other cities and had their kids, the normal, just the regular American life. I mean, that's what it is, American dream. You marry out, you have your children, and so within my household, my family, my grandfather, by him being a Baptist reverend, the girls had to marry out. It wasn't no getting out and getting your own apartment or roommate. Oh no, they stay at home until the man come and ask for their hands. My grandparents didn't play that. And I can say that I noticed that with all my aunts and my mom. They had to marry out the house. It wasn't moving out, being having your own apartment. My oldest aunt did that. She moved to Chicago. She married out and had children. And then the other aunt married out, went to Cincinnati, married, had children, and the other one stayed in Atlanta, Decatur, was married and had 12 children. So was it perfect? No. And they all are dead, rest they soul. I came from old school. Okay. I'm 59. And so, I can relate, it's just my grandmother. I did get to know her, my mom. And like I said, my mother told me that, she was able to talk. She just talked to her mother. She missed talking to her mother. And I'm in this mood swing where I'm vulnerable, yes. Yes, it's Thanksgiving, Christmas. I hate these holidays in the United States because all the loved ones that were so valuable to you, they're now, all gone, dead and gone. Okay? So I don't do too much with it. And my mom was the same way after she lost her mom, and I didn't know she grieved over her mother so much till I heard it from my CNA, from my not this, but the lady that was so well with my mother, you know, while she was living. Yeah, I miss my mom, but I don't miss the dementia, the memory care part. I don't miss it. That's another video. But um so I find myself falling into that, find myself falling into talking to my 30-year-old. She's been the middle child, always been kind of close to me. She tried to have it balanced out because me and her father was married. My girl's father. We was married, but she balanced it out. She made sure she spent time with both of us. And that's wonderful because at one point I thought, since she lived with them, they lived with him and all of this stuff, I was feeling some type of way, of course. But yeah, so I it was so funny, how she said, "Mama, oh Lord, your stories are getting wilder and wilder." And I said, "What you trying to say? You trying to call me a 304? You ain't trying to call me no hoe," Because see, back then, hey, you are when you got parents that are strict on you, when they get to be that age or before they get that age, they gonna be. I hate to say it, especially what they call them preachers' children. Oh my God. I used to wonder what it was with that, but now I know. Yeah, I got pretty wild. I mean, we the one, I guess, you know, we the one brought on a lot of stuff, you know, that's going on now. But you have to hold yourself accountability for something. That's the problem. We don't. At some point, we don't hold ourselves accountability as an adults and parents on some things. But I'm to the point now. I'm like, God, I surrender all. My God, you know. So, but anyway, then it get to the point that with my son, I noticed, he has a lot of anger problems. He saw a lot of those sicknesses, the things that I put out on him as he was younger and going through my mental state, my mental health challenges that I wasn't, I knew, but I just wasn't diagnosed to really know. And so, sometimes children, they want to try to hold you accountable and just have a clutch if they can. And I tried that with my mom too. But at some point, you got to take accountability of your own when you get grown. You're not going to allow your children hold you in that space. And I have to tell him that as well because he got children now. And the children are teenagers and they don't like a lot of stuff he does. So you're still saying that you're grown and you're still trying to blame, your mom, your parents, your mom and dad about things. But what about now? At what point are you going to take accountability on your reaction? There's nothing wrong with therapy. God and therapy. It's nothing else we can do about it. So the damage is done. Forgive yourself, forgive your parents, forgive others, and move forward. Communicate, because life is so short. And if you see your parents are trying and they going for help, and like I am, 'cause I believe in it, you know. But at some point of time, you got to figure out too, and get to the point when they got those wounds like that. They can now. You can still call me. We can talk about what's going on. In his relationship, whatever. I tell him I don't need to be in it, but if you need to talk, cool, because I'm not gonna be on neither nobody's side but God. Okay, Ain't gonna be on nobody's side but God. Right. Okay. So he was talking to me about situations and all that stuff. And he was like, this and that and this and that. And I say, I can relate. Because you remember, as you saw what I went through with your dad and, and all of that. Well, you have to realize what's toxic and what's unhealthy. Why are you still in that situation? And a lot of time people just stay together for, convenient reasons or they don't have nowhere else to go or blase, blase, blase. But you can say, but it's always about money now. You can say, well, I pay this for the car and blah, 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 this and this and this and this, you know. And I told him, I said, well, listen here. It's just like when I had a vehicle that I just got rid of a couple of months ago. And I'm so glad I did. But I told him, at one point when I was homeless, I lived in my truck for 3 years off and on. I didn't tell them. So when you're going through something in life, like I was going through some stuff with my mom when she had dementia, I ended up having a nervous breakdown. I ended up living in my truck for 3 years off and on. I couldn't deal with it. I had to have the peace, but I had to make sure, as her only child, I had to end up putting her in memory care. Couldn't understand. I couldn't take it. It was too much. So at a point of time when if it be too much for you, when it be too much, then you need to just find an exit because it's not normal. That's not the norm to take verbal abuse, or whatever you're going through. It's not normal. And please don't stay in it because you're saying of the children. Oh my God. You done been in it all these years. Okay, so this is how America, how people think. Okay, well, you just got together. Okay, you're going to have problems, so you got to work it out. All right, cool. Then you done been together 30 or 40 years. And then this is how some people say, well, where you going to go? I mean, you done been together this long. What's up? Well, now people going for their happiness. There's some people been together for just 2 months. And say, I can't live with this. Get out. I agree. Some people been married 50 years. And I mean, if it have to be you sleeping in separate bedrooms or however they used to do, hey, so be it. I've seen that happen. Then I've seen some people married for 40 years and they just got a divorce. They just outgrew each other. Okay. As at that point, that's you do what you gotta do. You know. It is what it is. So, and I don't care what culture you are. Your happiness is number one. I don't care if you're a man, woman. I'm talking about grown folks now. But even with children, if the situation is don't seem normal and you seeing violence, of course you cry out for help. That's different, of course. But if you're somebody that's right from wrong and you decide your choice is to do wrong, then you need to be punished. You need to be disciplined. I mean, not I'm talking about not in no brutal. I'm talking about like what's wrong and right. Okay, so but when you're a child, you spank. No, no, that's a no, no. Then when they get a certain age, you say, then I say that's not right. So you have to take away stuff. Take away they things they like. Okay. And then when you get grown, you know good and damn well, I'm serious. And like, you know, you made your bed and you get to lie in it. It's the choice you make at some point. So I say that and I say this. We have to be careful what we tell anybody Oh yeah, including the net. But still, I feel like if someone is going through this right now, it's like I have to be careful. I can't tell my son a lot of women stuff. Welcome you all, welcome. I can't tell them a lot. My son like a lot of woman stuff was going on because they don't understand. They don't understand. But then when he get mad with his girl, she's in her 40s and he's 38. And he gonna talk about, yeah, she going through this woman stuff and he menopause, all this stuff. Okay, there's nothing you can do about that. You know, and so that makes me think that sometimes we think we so close with our children, we can just tell them anything. Okay, so it's like it's a certain point. You think you can tell anybody anything sometimes, even the net, even being on the internet. You just have to be led. But when you have an open book like mine and a journal of living with bipolar two, now, don't don't take take it for granted and thinking we talking out our head. But honey, people you can say they crazy all day, they ain't crazy. Watching them homeless people downtown and stuff, wherever you live. Folks ain't. You better listen to anything anybody say. Yeah, they could be diagnosed and really actually be going through, you know, but at some point they still can function even if they're not in their right mind. It's something that is still stuck in their mind that they know from the past and that is familiar if that energy comes toward them. That's why you have to be careful with people who diagnose and everything. Uh, some people, some symptoms are a little stronger, and you have to be careful. You have to be careful. Some people have to be institutionalized because they got so much going on in their mind, and however, whatever's going on, they can be harmful, you know. But there is a stigma that is definitely against mental illness, of course. I get it. I'm a peer specialist and I've lived and saw mental illness all my life. And when it's to the point when it's out of hand like that, that's why so much crime, so much stuff goes on in the world the way it does. And I don't care if they the bishop. I don't care if they the pope. I don't care. Some people got everybody got some kind of mental health challenge in some type of way. And the ones who walk around act like they got it together. Oh, please. Behind closed doors. Give me a break. Come on now. But I just want to say to a certain point with our grown children, and even if you are the children that are listening that are grown, you know, we have to be careful. Even if you tell your parents, some people they get drunk and that's the time that they can spill the beans and just say they say the drunk person tell the truth, right? I don't know, gosh, but I'm gonna tell you, but like I say, I was just sitting up here thinking, and I said, let me share this. Here is my grown son. He gets upset, and he does that with anybody, and this is with anybody. But when you get upset and don't want to hold your accountability of what's up with you, you're going to talk about what's going on with everybody else. Even down to the personal, as we get older kind of thing. I told him, I said, he talking about the person he was working for. Of course, he done lost that contract probably because of his personal life is going on with him and his girl. Yeah, if you don't have that personal life together and don't leave that shit at the door, when you go into work, you're gonna bring it in with you. Ain't nobody gonna pay for that. Ain't nobody dealing with that. Oh, I think the boss going through menopause. So what the hell that got to do with anything? Really? What do that has to do with anything? Hell, your own mama, me, is going through menopause. Don't compare people. Don't do that. At some point, you got to hold accountability. And I had to use him as an example. I mean, really, you 38. Come on. I remember when I was 38, I was still learning. I was just still not knowing who I were. You in the 30s, meeting people already got children. Okay. You already, you know. I mean, it's not that I'm angry with them. It's just something, I don't know. I was led to get on here and talk about this because I don't know. Somebody may be going through the same thing, and some people feel alone. It's just the holidays. That's why I hate Thanksgiving and Christmas. I don't mean to rain on nobody parade. It's just a certain feeling that, I mean, hey, now, heads up, no shade. Who the ones who still celebrating with their families. I think it's beautiful. I could do the same thing, but I chose not to because of me growing up with grandparents. It's just never been the same when holidays came. My mother and I never just really got into it that way. And then I really ain't into it after my mom done passed 3 years ago. Heck yeah, I could care less about Thanksgiving and Christmas. Please, you know. But I'm happy. I tell my children, go on and celebrate it with your father people. They always doing stuff. I don't want to be bothered. I really don't. But to some point, like I say again, getting back to sharing things, and even with anybody, because I don't trust nobody but God. I really don't. I don't even trust my own kids to a certain extent, you know. And but I just give God the praise. But it's just so funny to me, when my 30-year-old daughter say, I was just telling her about when I was 18 and I was just wild. I just got wild. Being in a strict home now, you know, and we have to be careful, you all. We can't be strict like that on our children. I mean, allow them to make mistakes and everything because it just like they'll tell you quick. We went asked to be here, to come here on this world. So is everybody else. The whole world went asked to be here, but we're here. Really? That just trips me out when they use that one. I think they think parents are aliens. Like we have no idea, like, do, 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 what's going on. And I was the same way at that age. And here we are. We saying the same thing, but at some point, we got to still hold accountability of our own. We don't want to hold no accountability. We don't. And I'm at the point now, I'm like, shit, well, excuse the expression. Oh, I surrender all, God. I tell my children now, you said I did that when you little. Okay, I did. Okay. I hold account. Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, I think I remember that one. Yeah. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, my son tried to get up to me and say, Mommy, you know what you did when and all of that. And I said, I've done a lot of things. Okay. Now what's you know and now your children calling me as the grandmama, my grandkid, they're like, well, dad, and they saying the same thing about him. Oh my God. At some point, you all please. And even as adults, we gotta take accountability. But then when we feel comfortable enough and think we can let our guards down, let go for anybody. But then to a certain point, like I say, there's boundaries and there's much respect for each other. Just because you get grown, don't think you can just handle your parents any kind of way as well. Because it comes back on you. God don't like ugly. God don't like ugly. You know, you are cursing yourself. and then it comes back through you, through your children, because it end up, and that's what happened with me. I did the same thing to my mom, act a certain way and all that, and that mess did come back on me. It did. Tell you the truth. But but I'm just looking at the fact how you just gon' just because somebody don't agree of what you doing and you bring it home into the workplace, and then you're gonna just go off and say, well, husband is a cheater and she blah 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 blah. But at first, everything good. Oh yeah, they're my brother, they're my sister. And then you're gonna say, um, they don't care about my bills and my children, whatever. I'm like, let me tell you something. Don't nobody give a damn about you, your children, your bills. I said, if you get a contract, or if you supposed to go there on that job, you're not there to make friends. Get your money, do what you're supposed to do, get your money and go home. Go home. Don't try to sit there and make friends with these folks. People that is paying you and they got money to do stuff. So what? They husband is a cheater. The wife act like she's menopause and all that. What what they got to do with you? What what can you what can you do about that? Man, if you don't get your come on now. Come on. And that goes for any of us. I'm sorry, excuse me. I had my phone on charge. That goes for any of us. Stop trying to make friends with people. And and if they hire you to do something or whatever, or whatever the case is, do what you need to do and get the hell up out of there. You don't need to make friends with them. Now, if y'all become friends and all that, good, wonderful. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know. Look. I'm a talker, and this my first love is radio, and I'm telling you, um, living with bipolar two disorder is a medical condition. It's not who we are. It's not who we are. When I saw mental illness on both sides of my family, my mom told me that, okay, one of my uncles, ever since I was a little girl, he was in Millersville in the institution. Then he ended up being in a group home. I said, "What happened to Uncle Jane?" I mean, of course, rest in peace. All of them dead now. Okay, and she was like, "Well, when he was in the service, he got hit on the head." So it's certain things that can cause people to have mental health, uh, illnesses or mental health challenges, or when the mom was carrying, or anything. Even if you was a drinker, I don't know this thing awkward. I'm sorry. Doing drugs, all that can lead to mental illness. It can. Even if a parent, the mother, were pregnant with a child. That's why they call it. Some were born as a crackhead. They doing crack while they carrying them, or drinking and all that other stuff. Yeah, it's gonna affect the child. And even with the man, the sperm, it takes two. Whatever's in his blood system, it enters when he's released that semen into the woman, into her body, and it takes the semen to hit the egg, and you develop from that an embryo. Excuse me. Everything that is from him and her is going to interfere. Is going to affect interact with that child. the embryo. I mean, even from the spiritual world. Everybody you done slept with. Everybody she done slept with. If that's all of that is not released and detoxed out of you when you're making a child, all that's why they said marriage is. I mean, sex is for the marriage. You know, it's a lot of us came here from my parents being one night stands. And other situations. A lot of people just come here all different ways. So the fact is, like, that's why they say we're born into sin. We are born into sin because it's the way we came here. And I mean, and for me, my parents wasn't perfect. Yeah, I see on my birth certificate they were married, but my father died when I was 5. He had a heart attack at the wheel. So everything that is carried within us, our bloodline, it goes. That's why the world is. This will make the world go round. None of us is perfect. We all got mental health challenges. So don't be walking around here like you do 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 do, like you all that, but you're not. See, I'm the one that God using me to teach y'all to be free and to stay free. I'm not sugarcoating nothing. And the reason why I'm looking, going, talking like this, because I'm detoxing from all the meds that I've taken for 10 years. I'm 59. I started taking these meds when I was 50, like bipolar medicine, blood pressure, diabetes. I've said it in all my other videos, cholesterol, all that meds. I just stopped taking all that stuff in last month. I said no more. I'm not going into 26 with it. 29. Speaking way into the future. Yeah, I'm not going into 26 in my life, waking up, oh, I gotta take my medicine. Oh my god. Only meds I just took was my ibuprofen for my pain, back pain and stuff. Yes, I got to still work on my weight and watch what I eat. All of that. All of that. So at some point, we gotta hold ourselves accountability with everything, everybody, even with ourselves. Come on. When are we gonna stop using an excuse, an example, crop? Use things as a crop. I'm talking to myself too. Same thing. I just give God the praise, just do what you love. My first love is radio and to talk. And I've been doing that over 10 years. And I think about the book of Job. Even now, I'm older because of poor health, and um, health programs, because of one teeth is pulled and missed or whatever, then the other rest of the teeth is shifting. So I got to get that done. Then I got to work on my weight. We all got something to work on, but I'm always doing the workshop called the Blueprint of Healing. And that start within here, forgiving yourself. You know, you got to look at the reflection, look at the mirror, look at you. You got to put yourself first. And I talk about that all the time. I'm going on all on something else. But like I said, at some point, accountability, boundaries, respect, even when my mother with dementia, it was like I became the mother and she was the daughter. But I still had to respect at, another point that this is my mom. And I regret a lot of things, you know, But I gave her her flowers while she was there. I was so grateful for that. Just, be with the it's the little things. But honey, I'm telling you, and that goes for anybody. Y'all be careful, because the people would. I tell you the truth. Be careful who you talk to. Your children, your parents. Be careful. You ain't got to tell them everything. Just because that's your parent, or just because that's your child, don't mean you really know them. People change every day. Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad that you all were here. Please like, share, subscribe. I appreciate you all. You can hit me a DM if you like to have alignment of, dealing with your spiritual awakening and dealing with your mental health. So you all have a wonderful day. I'll see y'all on the next video. Take care.